Can I help you?
Why, yes, you can. I'm here to report a terrible crime.
And what terrible crime is that?
This one.
Welcome to the Explosion Network spoiler-free review of Birds of Prey and the Fabulous Emancipation of one Harley Quinn. I think I got it right. This movie is directed by Cathy Yan, written by Christina Hodson, the synopsis of which is, after splitting with the Joker, Harley Quinn joins superheroes Black Canary, Huntress, and Renee Montoya to save a young girl from an evil crime lord. My name's Dylan Blight. Joining for this thing, Ashley Hobley. Ash, did you like the movie?
Yeah, I had a really good time. It was way... I think based on Suicide Squad, we might have had expectations lowered a little bit. But obviously DC have been on a pretty solid run the last few films they've been releasing. So yeah, I was pleasantly surprised how much I liked the film. I think there's a lot of good humor, there's a lot of good action, there's some great characters in there, and seems like it's a good stepping stone to a potential better extended universe.
Yeah. Yeah. I was highly surprised with how much I like this, because I really, not only did I dislike Suicide Squad, but I really disliked that version of Harley Quinn also, you know? Like, so I was going into this like, they've really got to swing a full 180 on me to come out the other end and actually like this movie, I feel, because I was like, I just hated by the end of that movie, I was just like, it's too try-hardy. You know what I mean? Like, of course, like, I think
it was kind of one note at times, whereas in this she's like multi-dimensional, I feel like, or more of a comics accurate character.
Yeah. Well, a lot of this seems to pull from the what era do you call it? Like the 2010 reboot era or whatever of the Harley Quinn comic books. You haven't read it?
I believe the Tommy Hardy and Amanda Connor run is
which I think that's like 2010 or something around that. I don't remember. But it seems to heavily pull from that. And of course, like there's slight spoilers for like one of the opening scenes here. Nothing major, but like there's a section where it shows it like doing roller derby and stuff, and that seemed to pull from the like the action figure design or whatever. I think that's come from the bombshelly type stuff or something like that. You know what I mean? So there seems to be like pulling from more of stuff, whereas the one that we got in Suicide Squad didn't really. I don't know. That was just like, let's make our own thing, obviously, and they were trying to do lots of stuff. But the thing that makes this version better and way more interesting is they've kind of met in the middle where Suicide Squad didn't, because Suicide Squad was like went ham in one direction, and this is like, okay, we're not forgetting Suicide Squad. So this movie fully counts Suicide Squad as a thing that happens because that's important for her plot, but also it's like, let's like bring back some stuff that people would like from the character and people know, and like we'll meet a little bit more in the middle. So it's like, if you like the whole like tattered up punk rocky thing, whatever you want to call that, the Suicide Squad, the Harley, that's still here. It's just like it's been brought a little bit closer to the middle. And also, because you have a female director this time, you don't have bullshit scenes of like her taking her top off
she's not wearing hot pants the entire movie.
Yeah. It's like, and I mean, that's I gotta say before, one of the most noticeable things about this movie is the female director. I think, in several, I mean, I don't know how, like there's one scene, if I want to give the best example, and I think this is the one that makes it most noticeable, which is that there's a giant fight scene and they and Harley slows down for a second to pass Black Canary a hair tie. Like there's no way that is something that happens without a female director behind the leads or something, you know, like this is,
or a female writer.
Or like you've got a full team here, and I feel like it highly pays off. And it also highly pays off with Black Mask, because you get like I'd say, I mean, female gaze on like, but it's like it's equivalent of like a male gaze, except for they like suddenly it's like it's not Ewan McGregor suddenly taking his top off all the time. Like they make Black Mask / Ewan McGregor very like not sensual. I don't know, like this. I want to call it like sexy version of Black Mask, but it's not like I don't know if you want to go that far. But he's very.
I don't know.
I mean, I can't say stuff without spoiling some stuff, I feel, but like it's an interesting version of Black Mask. It was not what I expected from Black Mask. I feel like
I feel like Black Mask, especially in the comics, is a bit more basic gangster character. Whereas in this, he's got a lot of personality.
Yeah, a lot. And lots of interesting things happening there. To run down the rest of the cast here without going, of course, into spoilers. So Renee Montoya was played by Rosie Perez, a character that's pulled from the 92 Batman series? Or was it 94? I can never remember. Anyway, the 90s Batman series.
The animated series.
The animated Batman series. Pulled from that, which is cool to see, obviously. And I enjoyed her in that role. I thought she did a good job. And they purposely make fun of her, like, stereotype, the way she's written, of being like, does she always sound like an 80s cop? Like, the way she talks and stuff. So it's like, that was a lot of fun. Then you have, what order should we go in here? You got Mary Elizabeth Winstead as Huntress, which I feel like the word disappointment's the biggest word, but it's also just like she wasn't in it as much as I would have
hoped. Yeah. Especially once she's actually there, you're like, man, why didn't we get more of Huntress before? But for plot reasons, it makes sense.
It does make sense. And they do have a lot of characters in this, and that's probably my biggest negative, is because of, obviously it's called Birds of Prey, but really it's just a Harley Quinn. It's a Harley Quinn movie.
It's Harley Quinn. It's a backdoor pilot for a Birds of Prey series.
100%. So that, and it means that some of these characters end up getting shafted here in some ways. So you got Journey Smollett Bell, as Black Canary. She was really good. I think she's one of the standouts from this, especially because it's like, after seeing obviously years of Arrow and that version of like Dinah and stuff like this reminded me more of the
comics.
I wonder someone in the comics, like a version of Black Canary I really like is the one they did where she was actually in a band and everything a couple of years ago. Like I feel like this is like, it's obviously not that because she was like in a rock band, but she's like singing here in this burlesque thing for Black Mask and whatever else. So reminded me of that because she had like the sort of punky look, you know what I mean? Like not full, she's not like in fishnets and boots and stuff like that she's in fishnets once, but it's not like the proper like comic book attire. But she's really good and she kicks ass. And
she's really good. She's probably more of the straight cop than anybody else, I feel like, in the film. Like everybody else gets kind of a zany, gaggy sort of thing, but she plays it straight most of the time, which I guess is hard to do, especially against someone like a Harley.
Mm-hmm. It's funny how I mean, this is one of those things where it's like when you bring over the comic books, because when you read a comic, you have all these zany characters and non-zany characters just suddenly work on paper. But as soon as you bring them into a movie, I feel like it's a hard balancing act, but it kind of falls on the actors to make it all work. But it does, because you've got Margot Robbie over here as Harley just being what Harley is, which is something else, and then everyone else is kind of acting in their own movies. You got fucking 80s cop over here, like, we'll be all serious, and Harley's like, should I call pizza? Like, it's kind of funny. And then Ella J. Basco was Cassandra Cain in this, which is the girl they're all chasing over. Cassandra Cain played, she did a stint as Batgirl in, I don't know, a couple of years ago or something like that.
The 90s, something like that.
I don't remember.
It was ages ago,
It was like, I thought they brought it back for New 52. Oh no, I might be dreaming.
No, she did, but not as Batgirl, I don't think. It was like Black Bat or something like that. Some bat random. But she's a character still.
She's a character in here, yeah.
Nothing like this though.
Nothing like this.
This is completely different.
This film could potentially set that up, but this film is just like, she's a street kid stealing stuff, and I enjoyed her banter, especially obviously she has the most time with Harley in the movie, and those two managed to back and forth quite well, I thought. So I enjoyed her. And then the last go on her.
I was watching it with my brother and he mentioned afterwards it feels very much like Deadpool 2 because they have that similar relationship that the kid in Deadpool 2 and Deadpool have. I can't remember his name, but
I can't remember either. The cab driver.
It's that kind of the kid who.
Oh, the kid. Okay, It's I guess it's similar somewhat. I would say she's less.
Well, she's more enthusiastic to the.
She's like
than he was. Yeah.
And then the last person of a kind of baddie, apart from Ewan McGregor as Roman Sionis / Black Mask, which we said we both really liked, is Chris Messina, who played Zaz in the movie, which was very easy to spot because the dude has scars, which all makes sense. And I really enjoyed their version of Zaz in this. If you told me they was putting Zaz in this movie ahead of time, I'm like, I'm so sick of Zaz. Like, it's always just like the dude, I cut myself every time I kill someone. I'm like, I would have been like, I'm so over this. Yet they don't make him the full, like, they don't go full, like, Arkham Asylum, typical, like, Batman 90 series version of Zaz, where he's just like a complete psychopath dude. Like, he's obviously a psychopath, like,
yeah.
he's undoubtedly, but at the same time, he's a lot more controlled and other things without spoilers, I would say.
Yeah. I guess it was different for me because I just watched Gotham recently, which has, again, a very different version of Zaz, where he's a crazy kind of hitman played by the guy from Barry. So, yeah. I thought it was good. It was fine. He filled the role of the muscle, pretty much. So, yeah.
Good did. And then one other thing I like getting outside the cast, I feel like I have to shout out the weird. So they got Matthew Labatic was the cinematographer of this movie, because obviously I was like, this movie's very colorful, very poppy. You know, they mentioned it as very like create this nice visual style where I would say it's like a middle ground mix between like, DC movies are all super dark and like your Dark Knights and whatever else. It's like some of it's that, but then at other times it's very bright and lots of colors, especially when the group's all together, like lots of colors and stuff. But other times Gotham looks very Gotham-y. You can't really, like, it's funny because like I was thinking the last movie DC one I watched obviously was Joker, and it's like that Gotham just looks like New York City or something. Like, it doesn't look like Gotham to me. It's just like we toned it down. It's just New York City now. This movie, whenever they're around, I'm like, this feels like Gotham, like proper Gotham to me. I like the way they
for the most part. I think there's a street market that feels a bit different to anything I've seen in Gotham before, but that's kind of cool. I
could buy it, like, as far as something that would be in Gotham, you know. And then I mean, any other final thoughts or things you'd like to point out for Birds of Prey?
There are a couple of bits and nitpicks and that kind of thing. I think there was one like flashback dream sequence thing that felt very out of place during the film. And then I don't know if the final battle scene, it was cool, but it was visually kind of awkward. I feel like it was maybe
the
too
final
much
fight
color.
or
the group
scene.
fight.
Okay, the final group fight. Okay.
That was kind of hard to keep track of, and it was just a bit too much at a certain point. But I had a great time overall, but just a couple of smaller nitpicks. Yeah,
I mean, the movie has a few things like that. I enjoyed the fights. I wish I would say they're more choreographed than Marvel stuff is. Not to take a straight dig, but since we're in the comic book world, I feel it's hard to compare. I'd say most of the fights seemed more choreographed than most Marvel movies. But obviously I'd say that like some of the Captain America stuff is a lot better, obviously, because I feel like the Captain America movies got the good choreographed fights, but most of the Marvel movies are like very highly edited and they don't really spend much time choreographing stuff. This has some like decent shots where there's a bunch of people on screen and they're all doing action and stuff like that, but at the same time you do have like a group of, how many people is it? 100, 4 people, right? Yeah, so you have like 4 people on screen fighting, at least other 4 bad guys at the same time, plus more sometimes. Yeah. It's like that is a lot of people to fit in one frame. So it does get hectic, and I think that's just like cause and effect, I guess. Like
there's not much you can do about that.
Really a way around it. But overall, like I say, like I was blown away with how much I enjoyed this. I really went into it expecting it and hoping for it to be okay. I walked out being like, holy shit, DC's like kind of on a constant winning streak at the moment. And even as much as I don't like Joker, obviously Joker's like a plus for most people in the DC realm, and Shazam was really good. This is really good. Wonder Woman, everyone loves. We've got another Wonder Woman coming. DC's like kind of just doing good shit lately, and it's kind of weird to get used to it. And also, got to give DC props again because they're like 2 for 2ing, just constantly upping Marvel when it comes to like sticking females behind and in front of the camera and doing other things here. They're like, director, writer, cast, go for gold, do it. And the best thing about this movie for all these people who complained about the Avengers Endgame, like the big female power up shop of being like too like forced for like female empowerment shot, I would say this movie doesn't do that. This movie just knows that it's starring a bunch of kick-ass females, and it doesn't feel the need to like have any of those moments, you know, like it just relies on the fact that it is what it is, and that's the movie. It doesn't need like an epic shot or something, or like to feel to force through the message, which is quite good. But yeah, overall, I can't wait. I'm like, okay, I'll take another Harley Quinn movie. I'll take a Birds of Prey movie. I'll take whatever, I guess, after this point. And I think if a lot of people go watch it, then can almost guarantee that we'll get something else, because I mean, I think they're pocketing it. Well, yeah, they're pocketing a bunch of ideas, and Harley Quinn sells a lot of merch, so yeah. Much
cosplay.
Again, I mean, last movie she only had one costume. This one, imagine all the Halloween costumes that are coming out. This one, million up to us. So many. If you want to hear our spoiler thoughts on things that we kept dodging around in this, go head over and check out explosionnetwork.com, or head to your podcast feeds, or just Google for it. Look for the podcast. It's called What Do You Want to Watch? You can find it on podcast services, explosionnetwork.com. It'll lead you right to our spoiler discussion on that podcast feed, where we'll talk about all things. I'm planning on writing a review to go up. It won't be up by this time this drops, because I'll probably just edit this straight away, but look for that sometime in the future when I decide on a score for it, because at the moment I'm not locking one in. Do you reckon you could lock in or chuck out a random score?
Probably like 8.8, 8.5 around there.
Yeah, I'm definitely like in the 8s, towards the 8s at least. So we're on board there. See you, bye.